Once upon a time, there was a girl, and she had such beautiful and long hair that everyone who saw her could not take their eyes off. The strands were so light, just golden. Therefore, they called her Goldilocks. For all her beauty, she was a very naughty little girl. Mom always allowed her to walk in the yard, but ordered her not to go into the woods behind their house. Goldilocks was very interested to know what is in that forest. And so, while Mother did not see, she somehow left the house into the forest. The girl walked for a long time in the forest. Either he finds a berry, then looks at a beautiful flower, then listens to how the birds sing. So she got lost in the forest. And suddenly she saw an unusual house in a clearing. Goldilocks approached him quietly. I walked around but did not see anyone. She knocked on the door, but no one answered. Then she knocked harder, and the door opened itself. Goldilocks entered cautiously. 3 bears lived in that house. One bear was dad big and shaggy. The other was a mother bear. It was smaller. The third was a little bear. The bears were not at home because they had gone for a walk in the woods. The girl entered the room and saw 3 bowls of porridge on the table. The first bowl, the biggest one, was the daddy bear. The second bowl, the smaller one, was the mother bear, and the third, the smallest, was the bear cub. Near each bowl lay a spoon, large, medium, and small. Goldilocks was so hungry that she first wanted to eat from a large bowl. She took the largest spoon, took the porridge, tasted it, but the porridge was too hot. Then she took a medium spoon, took the porridge, tasted it, but the porridge was too cold. Finally, she took a small spoon and tasted the porridge from the small bowl. This porridge was neither hot nor cold, just right. And Goldilocks ate all the porridge from the little bowl. After eating, the girl wanted to sit and saw 3 chairs near the stove, one large, another smaller, and the third, very small, with a little red pillow. First, she tried to climb into the largest chair, but could not. Then the girl tried to sit on the middle chair, but it was very hard and uncomfortable. Finally, she sat down on the smallest chair, and it was just right for her. Goldilocks liked the chair so much that she began to swing on it. The chair cracked, broke, and she fell to the floor. The girl got up and went to another room. There were 3 beds, large, medium, and small. First, Goldilocks climbed onto the first bed, but it was too high and hard. I lay down on the middle one, it was too spacious and soft. The girl lay down on the third, smallest bed. She was just right for her. Goldilocks felt so comfortable and cozy that she quickly fell asleep. The girl was fast asleep when the bear family returned home. The bears got very hungry and immediately went to the table. Seeing his bowl, Papa Bear got really angry. Someone was eating my porridge. He growled. The bear mother also looked into her bowl and growled less loudly. Someone was eating from my bowl too. And the bear cub, seeing his empty bowl, cried loudly. Someone didn't just eat from my bowl, he ate all my porridge. The bears smelled something was wrong, left the table, and began to look around. Daddy Bear noticed that someone moved his chair and growled in a terrible voice. Someone was sitting on my chair. The bear mother looked at her chair and complained. Someone was sitting on my chair and moved it from its place. And then, the bear looked at his broken chair and again cried loudly. Someone did not just sit on my chair, but broke it. All 3 bears went cautiously into the bedroom. Someone was lying on my bed and crumpled it. Papa Bear roared in a terrible voice. And someone was lying on my bed too and crumpled it, growled the mother bear. The teddy bear looked at his bed and cried again. Someone was lying on my bed. And then he saw the girl and squealed in a thin voice, and still sleeps in her. Dad and Mom bears came to the bed and saw that a little girl was sleeping there. Goldilocks woke up from the cry of a bear cub, and was very frightened. There were 3 bears in front of her. She instantly jumped out of the house and ran wherever her eyes looked, without looking back. The girl ran for a long time. She was very tired, and then she saw her mother, who was looking for her missing daughter in the forest. Since then, Goldilocks always listened to her mother and did nothing without her permission. She became a very obedient, kind, and good girl.
Once there was a woodcutter with 2 children and their stepmother. The boy's name was Hansel, and the girl's name was Gretel. They lived so poorly that sometimes there was not even anything to eat. And then one evening he lay in bed, pondering how to feed the children further. His wife advised him to have children in the forest, light a fire, give a piece of bread each and leave them there, not all 4 of them die of hunger. But the woodcutter did not agree. And until then, his wife persuaded him that he finally agreed. And the children, because of hunger, also could not sleep and heard everything that their stepmother said to their father. And when the parents fell asleep, Hansel secretly rushed out of the house. The moon was shining brightly, and the white stones glittered like coins. Hansel pocketed as many of them as he could fit. Then he returned home and the children went to bed. In the morning, the stepmother came to the children, gave each of them a piece of bread, and they all went to the forest together. On the way, Hansel threw out white stones one by one. When they arrived at the clearing, my father began to light a fire. He ordered the children to sit near the fire and make sure that it didn't go out, while they and their stepmother would go for more firewood. They sat, tired, and fell fast asleep. When the children woke up, it was a dark night all around. And when a full month had risen in the sky, Hansel took his sister by the hand and went, looking for the way through the pebbles, which glittered like new coins, and showed them the way. They walked all night long, and at dawn they came to their father's house. Some time passed. And the children again heard how the stepmother one night began to beg their father to get rid of the children. He refused, but his wife did not want to listen to him. She cursed and expressed all sorts of reproaches to him. When the parents fell asleep, Hansel, like the last time, wanted to collect stones, but the stepmother locked the door and the boy could not leave the house.
Thank you.
Early in the morning, the children were given a piece of bread each, even less than the previous time. On the way to the forest, Hansel shredded his piece in his pocket and threw the crumbs on the ground. The stepmother took them even further into the forest. Again a big fire was lit, and the father ordered the children to watch the fire while they and their stepmother chopped some more wood. When lunchtime came, Gretel shared her piece of bread with Hansel. And they fell asleep. We woke up when the dark night fell. And then a month came up, and they got together on their way, but they could not find a single crumbs, because thousands of birds fluttering in the forest had long been eating those crumbs. So the children walked for a very long time, but they could not get out of the forest. Suddenly, the road led them to the hut. Coming closer, the children saw that the house was all built of bread and biscuits, and the windows were made of pure sugar. Hansel reached up and broke off a piece of the roof, while Gretel went to the window and began gnawing at its windows. And then the door in the hut opened wide, and the old woman came out, leaning on a crutch. Hansel and Gretel were so scared that they even dropped their tidbits from their hands. And the old woman was kind and invited them to her hut. There was already abundant food on the table: milk, cookies, apples, and nuts. After dinner, the old woman made 2 clean beds for the children, and Hansel and her sister thought they were in heaven. But the old woman only pretended to be affectionate, but in fact she was an evil witch, who built her bread hut for this purpose in order to lure children. Early in the morning, while the children were sleeping, she took Hansel and put him in a small cage. And she ordered her sister to do everything that the wicked witch demanded of her. The old woman decided to fatten the boy in order to eat him later. So Gretel began to cook the most delicious food for Hansel, and she herself got nothing but leftovers. Some time passed, and the boy did not get fat. Then the old woman did not want to wait any longer, and decided to cook and eat Hansel. She ordered Gretel to light the stove and apply water. When the stove warmed up, the old woman ordered her to climb into the stove and see if it was hot enough. So she wanted to push the girl into the fire and bake her. But Gretel knew what was on her mind. She said that she did not know how to get in there, and asked the witch to show herself. The old woman got angry and climbed into the oven. Then Gretel pushed her and slammed the shutter behind the witch. Wow, how terribly the old woman howled then. Gretel, meanwhile, rushed to Hansel and opened the cage. Having freed their brother, they went to the witch's room, in which there were boxes of pearls and precious stones in all corners, filled their pockets with them, and went home. For several days the children were looking for their way back. The forest seemed more and more familiar, and at last they saw their father's house in the distance. How glad he was to see his children alive! Hansel and Gretel poured on the floor all the pearls and gems they had taken from the witch. There was no need to think about food. And they began to live, and rejoice. And the father drove the evil stepmother out of the house.